You, Danielle? Okay. Okay. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the Power Skills 2020 5-day virtual conference. Today is already day 3 of the conference. And if you've been participating in other sessions, we hope you're feeling as inspired and energized as I am. If it's your first session, welcome. You will absolutely love this session. And check out the full calendar of all upcoming sessions until August 8th on our website. And we'll put that in the chat as well. My name is Emily Salvi. I work as a career advisor in the McGill School of Continuing Studies, Career Advising and Transition Services Office, known as CATS office. And I'll introduce you to my colleagues and career advisors, Nayo Garepi and Valerie Nwani.
Bonjour, bon matin tout le monde.
We're thrilled to welcome today's speaker, Danielle Silverman, for today's keynote presentation, 3, 2, 1, Jump. Danielle will talk to us about why, as human beings, we're hardwired to resist change. And in this inspirational keynote, she's gonna let us know, well, we're gonna find out what we need to do to be able to survive and thrive through transitions. So for those of you who don't know her, Danielle has left a career in marketing to become a coach. She's coached hundreds of people in career transition and provided management and leadership coaching and training to dozens of organizations. She's passionate about helping organizations and individuals embrace change. Danielle is also a certified coach with the International Coach Federation and is a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, where she's known for her talks on leadership, the people factor, change, and the art of reinvention. Danielle, I can't tell you how excited we are for your session today, and thank you so much once again for being here with us today.
Sitting uncomfortably at the open door of a very small, very noisy Cessna 206, legs dangling, 15,000 feet in the air, heart beating so hard, I think it's going to burst. All I need to do now is jump. That's all. Just jump. No problem. 5 other people have jumped before me, and now it's my turn. What the heck am I doing here? What could have possessed me to want to jump out of a plane? I must be nuts. I could have done anything with my day, but no, I chose to jump out of a plane at 15,000 feet. I must be crazy. What if I land flat on my face? Will I look like a Sunday special at the International House of Pancakes? And get this, there's a man hooked up to my back, a 6'3" giant. And me, I'm 5'1". What happens if our link gets broken? What happens if the chute doesn't open? What if, oh, but I can hear a voice behind me. 3, 2, 1, I'm not so sure. 3, 2, 1, I'm so scared. 3, 2, 1, I want to jump, but have you ever been afraid to jump? No, not out of a plane. Afraid to make the jump. Ever had that irrepressible feeling that you need to back off from something at the last moment because it's just too scary? Or perhaps you found yourself frozen, unable to jump. I was born in Egypt. My paternal grandfather was born in Palestine. His parents fled the pogroms in Russia and traveled by foot over the Ural Mountains and settled in Palestine. You may have read about this in the history books or in that famous movie, Fiddler on the Roof. My ancestors were rabbis from father to son, but my grandfather had another calling, and he left home at a young age to study in Leipzig, Germany. He later settled in Egypt, where my father was born and where I was born. At the end of the 19th century, after the construction of the Suez Canal, Egypt was booming. It was an idyllic life. rich in culture, warm weather, great food, and kind, warm-hearted people. But all that changed in 1956 with a military coup. Everything was nationalized, and my father was forced to work in a job and a place not of his choosing. So he decided to leave the country of his birth, like his father before him, and made plans to move all of us to Canada. On the eve of our departure, my beloved grandfather fell into a diabetic coma and was carried to the plane on a stretcher. I was 3 years old, looking death in the face for the first time, paralyzed by the experience, not able to jump from that plane. Your story doesn't have to be that dramatic. I get that it's too scary to change jobs. It's too scary to change lanes. It's too scary to say yes to the opportunity that's right in front of you. It's just too scary. So instead, we retreat. We delay the deadline. We try not to think about it, even if deep down inside we're dying to try it, dying to jump, whatever the situation, the difficulty, or the probability of success. Over time, I've learned the importance of jumping. I've also learned that there are a few essential things that help us make the jump, that help us make it through any transition in life. Transition is, that moment in time when you live with the discomfort, the same discomfort I felt sitting at the open door of that little Cessna. It's a moment when we lose all sense of who we are. We doubt everything. And we may realize that it's time to reinvent ourselves, to accept a new reality, a new way of being, but it terrifies us, even if we so long for it. The first component that will help you through any transition is courage. When I was 34, I was in a very difficult position at work. I had a boss who was constantly asking me to give 130% of myself. One day I told him the problem wasn't that I couldn't give 130%. The problem was that I was currently giving him 300%, and I simply couldn't give any more. And over time, the situation just didn't get any better, to the point that I couldn't take it anymore. I was exhausted, both physically and mentally. And as I saw it, I had 3 options. I could look for a job somewhere else, I could go back to school, or I could sell all of my belongings and travel the world with a backpack. I gave myself 6 months to figure this out. And at the end of 3 months, my decision was made. I was going back to school. 3, 2, 1, jump. It was, in my view, the decision that held the least risk. And in the end, it turned out to be 2 of the best years of my life. Courage is about acknowledging risk and acting in the face of it. In fact, the biggest element of courage is risk. Not the risk involved in jumping or not jumping, but the inherent risk in the choices we make. It doesn't matter whether you choose to change jobs or anything else in your life. Courage is in the choice you make. Let me say that again. Courage is in the choice you make. But once the decision is made, that's when you begin to see your confidence grow. But most of us do exactly what I did sitting at the edge of that cramped Cessna. Doubt. Question the very decision to jump. As I sat there at 15,000 feet, I had to evaluate the risk. 2 risks, in fact. The first, of course, that of jumping, but the second risk was to trust someone else, to trust this giant I was hooked up to. This giant was my parachute, and I had to entrust him with my life. I could have chosen to jump solo, but instead, I chose to associate myself with someone who would ultimately help me make the jump. And that's what you need to do when you're considering changing careers or anything else for that matter. Find someone with whom to safely make the jump. Someone who can answer your questions and your concerns. Someone who's been there before. Someone who can serve as a safety net or a parachute to help mitigate the risks. The question is not whether to choose either change or the status quo. The real challenge, the real question to ask yourself is, am I ready to accept and take responsibility for my decision, whatever the choice? First element, courage. Second element, vision. Fast forward. I'm 48. I'm working as a director of marketing for a software company. And at the same time, I'm studying full-time for a master's degree. During this period, the company was bought out and my job changed radically. And I was not happy about it, not happy at all. But I was perseverant and I hung on. I even put up with a harmful work environment, which included an abusive boss and some backstabbing colleagues and staff. One day, the situation became so intolerable that I got sick. Deep depression, what we commonly call a burnout. And there ensued a very, very dark period. I was paralyzed, unable to leave the house for 2 years, 2 very long years. And yet, in the middle of my darkest moments, even while I entertained thoughts of suicide, I had a vision, or maybe I don't know what it was, but it seemed to me that there might be something better. Wasn't sure what it was. In fact, I'm not even sure I realized that I thought there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but there was something in my subconscious. And then, in the middle of my sick leave, I lost my job. I had no choice but to jump. As my health returned to a more normal state, I began working with a consultant to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I learned, among other things, that what mattered most to me was to help people. And I decided to change careers completely. And with my background in marketing and communication, I became a career coach. After all, there is no harder product to market than oneself. I created a company called Vision Coach International, and I said, 3, 2, 1, jump. So often we take pleasure in living in misery. We put up with things, and then we suffer the consequences. We make ourselves believe that it's easier to die little by little rather than risk going towards something that might be better. The irony is that most of the time we know we're undermining ourselves, but we don't have the tools, the knowledge, or the help we need to move on. But the true hope, the light at the end of the tunnel, is to have a vision that is naturally aligned with our deepest values, our ideals and our beliefs, and our most outrageous dreams. There's a line in the song of a musical called South Pacific. You have to have a dream. Because if you don't have a dream, how can you have a dream come true? Having a vision is about dreaming. It's about giving yourself permission to dream. It's also about imagining that that dream can come true, that it can become real. It's about giving yourself permission to live the dream. That's what Olympic athletes do. They're specifically trained to visualize their dream of finding themselves at the top of the podium. And that's how they get there. When I was 12 years old, I learned a poem that had a very deep impact on me. It's called Invictus by the English poet William Henley. I'll never forget these words. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. To have the courage of your vision is to be in control of your destiny. It's about making choices that are good and right for you and for no one else. Know that whatever choice you make, it is the right one because you're the one who made it. It's your vision, your life. The third factor I want to share, and that will help you through any transition, is letting go. I had a client who came to see me a couple of years ago because he was unhappy in his job, very unhappy. But he stayed on. He was terrified to leave or try something new. Mostly, he was afraid to leave because of the security his job provided. You know, great pension, medical and dental benefits, job security for 3 generations, the kind of job you find in government, for example. But at what cost? He was supremely unhappy. So we worked together to find out who he really is so that he could discover where he might want to focus. One day he told me that when he was a little boy, he liked to play soccer. More specifically, he said he liked to play defense. And when I asked him why that particular position, he told me that his father wanted him to play center field because that's where the goals are scored. That's how you get ahead in life, his father said. But he didn't care about that. He preferred to protect his team. And after this conversation, he began to understand that his greatest desire was to work in an organization where he could be the number 2, to be there to protect and defend the number 1 in the organization, the chief, the staff, and help the organization grow that way. So he started exploring opportunities. And on his list of people he was going to network with was the director of an organization, of a nonprofit organization working for youth, which was a subject that had always fascinated him and he was quite passionate about. And before he even had a chance to call her up and sit down and network with her, he found a job posting for an assistant director for the very same organization. I don't believe in coincidences. As soon as he had the courage to talk about his dreams, the doors opened for him, opened wide. He applied to the job and he got it. When faced with the risk of leaving a job that was supposedly secure, he discovered that he could make more money than he had been making in a government job, even working for a nonprofit. He realized that he felt so much better after unburdening himself of this heavy chain. He used all of his courage to shout out loud, 3, 2, 1, jump. Letting go is not something that happens with huge fanfare. There are no fireworks. It happens gently, simply, the moment you realize there may be other possibilities out there. The mere fact of thinking about it means you're beginning to let go. But instead, we hang on. We refuse to let go. We refuse to let go because we're afraid. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what we might lose. We're afraid of failing. Or sometimes because we're angry. That's the part of vision nobody talks about. To move towards something new, we must let go of something else. I mean, how can you accept something new in your hands if your hands are already full? All it takes is recognizing that there might be something else. Even if your vision is not clear, that's okay. We just need to bring it back into focus. And you know, it's not always necessary to change completely. Sometimes all it takes is a little adjustment, a small tune-up. But in every case, we must let go of something. Letting go often starts with questions. What's holding me back? What am I afraid of? What makes me angry? Or the opposite, what makes me happy? What do I want? What do I really want? As you go through your day, I want you to notice what you're thinking. Are you avoiding thinking about the choices facing you today and for the rest of your life? One thing is certain, you're not done making decisions, regardless of how old you are. What are the thoughts in your head that are holding you back? Pay attention to these. As you look at the risk of moving on or staying where you are, and you face these with courage, and you create a compelling vision, what are you willing to give yourself permission to have in your life? Here's what I hear most often. I'm not ready. I'm afraid of leaving the security I have. There are no good jobs out there. I don't want to leave my job, but something has to change. Sometimes it's about attitude. And of course, today, there's the uncertainty brought on by COVID-19. What industries will survive this crisis? Will there be a job? What kind of job? Can I still be challenged in this job? And what is there I can learn, and where can I go to learn it? I also hear, I have no idea what I want, or my vision is too far-fetched. I love that one. There's so much richness in there. But the thing I hear most is, I hate change. Of course you do. It's human nature. We're hardwired to fear change. And we need to learn, despite that, how to manage through change, how to reinvent ourselves. When I was a little girl, my mother often said to me, Danielle, tu dois changer. You have to change. I have to change. I didn't understand. I thought, well, maybe she doesn't like me as I am. But it's only many years later that I understood what she was trying to tell me. The world is changing, and you must learn to change with it. Change is a part of life, has been a part of life since the universe existed, and that is not about to change. As the painter Frida Kahlo said, nothing is absolute. Everything changes. Whether you're going through large shifts in your life or tiny little tune-ups, I recommend you use these three elements to help you get through the adjustments and to encourage you to jump. Courage, vision, letting go. Sitting at the edge of the open door of this claustrophobic little plane. My tandem is behind me, and I hear a distant voice. 3, 2, 1. Come on, Danielle. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Jump! We are in free fall. 30 little seconds. Just 30 little seconds. It happens so fast, too fast even to notice the beautiful blue sky. And then the parachute opens and I know I'm safe. I can breathe again. But oh my goodness, what's going on? The stress has caused a surge of adrenaline to run through my body, and all I want to do is throw up. But all I can think about is, where is it going to go? I mean, really, can you imagine? How embarrassing that would be. So I do the only thing that comes to mind. I start taking some deep breaths over and over until I reach the ground. And I know I'm safe. I bend down and I kiss the earth, grateful that I didn't have to throw up. And in that moment, I realized that the fear and the embarrassment of throwing up on someone else was greater than my fear of death. That day, I didn't just jump. That day, I gave myself wings. I gave myself wings because the 3-year-old boarding that first plane couldn't. What about you? Are you ready to jump? Even if it's a tiny little jump. Is there something about your job you wish you could change? Do you want to discover what it is that makes you come alive? Do you want to learn how to advance in your career? How to manage change? How to reinvent yourself? How to give yourself wings? When you're faced with change, at the precise moment when you think you're about to jump into nothingness and you fear you're about to crash, your parachute is you. It's your resources that give you the courage to go on. Your resources that allow you to have a vision aligned with your values. Your resources that give you the necessary push to let go. And if somewhere along the way you feel like you're going to throw up, well, just take some deep breaths. It will pass and you will soar. Now, go jump. I'd like you to send me an email right now to let me know what you're going to do to jump. My email address is very easy. It's Danielle@daniellesilverman.com. And if you're afraid to jump alone, and believe me, I get that, let's continue the conversation. You can set up an appointment for free and chat directly with me by booking an appointment in my calendar at www.calendly.com/Danielle-Silverman. Or you can go to my website for more news at daniellesilverman.com. Emilia, I don't know if you're going to put that in the chat. Feel free to. I'll leave it up for another second and ask if there is time for questions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Wow. I think we're all so captivated by your motivational keynote speech and your storytelling. It's incredible. I felt I was right beside you when you jumped out of the plane and when you brought us back to those terrifying and courageous moments in your life. You definitely, I think that resonated with so many of us, or all of us. Thank you so much for walking us through those uncomfortable transitions, which are the most critical in life, and how to walk through them courageously. There's so many great takeaways from today's session. I'm going to leave it to any question. I know we have a couple of questions, Danielle. If you have, yeah. So we had, okay, actually one of the first questions was, we want to make these big changes. How about for people who, have children and want to go back to school and are just having a hard time with managing it all? How do we make those changes? How do we take that leap?
Well, first of all, I think that every situation is different. So we have to look at the particular circumstances. But in general, what I know to be true is that nothing is impossible. And so what you need to do is sit down and analyze what the situation is and what are the priorities and how much time you need for this and what kind of help you have. and really sit down and lay it out and see, okay, how much can I take on? What is non-negotiable? Those sorts of things. So it really, you know, rather than keep everything, you know, in your head and messy, sitting down and analyzing it, sometimes putting it on paper or talking about it with somebody, gives you a little bit more perspective. And then you know what are the boundaries, what are the things that we can do, and what are the things that we don't have time for. But there is nothing that's impossible. I don't know if that helps. That answers the question.
Thank you. For those who asked the question, I mean, feel free to speak up if you had any follow-up questions. If not, we'll move on. We did have another question on how to discover your why when you don't, you know, you don't have any earnings at the moment and you don't have an income. How can you do so?
You mean you don't have an income to be able to work with somebody else, right?
And maybe if Cirque wants to just clarify that one,
Yeah.
if you want to either speak up or write in the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
Well, no, I don't have a problem with that. For me, it's just being here in Indonesia at the moment. I just passed by a painful bankruptcy, and literally financially, I am totally at zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I am at this point, I just want to rediscover what it is that I would like to do, want to do, my why. And I mean, I explored going into developing ventilators based on action in Indonesia, a McGill concept and stuff like that, which is money. And that is something that at the moment I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
That's my question.
So totally understandable. I've been there too. There are tremendous resources today online, and so you know you can listen to Simon Sinek on YouTube. Find Your Why.
That's one of my references. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And there are others as well. I follow Laura Berman Fortgang, who talks about what now, how to find your life direction. But you know, there are tremendous. I would also recommend getting a group of people together and maybe like-minded people or people who are in the same situation or who have similar and exchanging ideas and doing things, because there's a tremendous amount of richness that you can find in working with other people, and it doesn't cost anything. So create a breakfast club, for example, or join, you know, my colleague Sonia Di Mauro and I have a reinvention breakfasts every month. So we don't necessarily talk about career all the time, but we talk about anything related to reinvention, and those are free. So there may be a lot of resources that you can find online that are free.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. There was
Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome.
There was another question on what advice do you give someone who's searching to relaunch their career after a 13-year gap of raising their children?
Mm. You know, it's the same. I get it, and I've had that question so many times, and it's the same process as just changing job or changing careers, period. You have a wealth of experience. Know that. Just because you've been at home for 13 years doesn't mean you haven't been gaining experience. You have experience in other things, and you have your past experience as well. So those can be combined very artfully in a CV, and understanding what those strengths are what you will be putting forward. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have to have the confidence that you have what it takes to be able to go out and look for a job.
I agree that confidence is key. Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle. You really, you have so many great comments in the chat right now. Everyone is uplifted by your wisdom and your, all of the amazing strategies and encouragement that you have shared with us this morning. It's such a great way to start the day. Thank you.
I'm so glad. Thank you. I'm glad it was at the beginning of the day. Yeah.
We shared your contact, your website, all your social media in the chat box. If there's anything else, is there any other place where people can reach you? Did I miss out on anything?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, everywhere. And all of those are on my website anyway. So whatever medium you prefer to use, you'll find it listed on my website for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you, and we hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Emily.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us at the Power Skills 2020 5-day conference. And stay tuned. We have a whole list of amazing speakers for the rest of today and the rest of the week. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.